A TIE fighter is such a big part of Star Wars, so it's only a matter of time before they re-release another one. And I absolutely... Hey guys, this is JP's LEGO Reviews. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the LEGO Star Wars UCS TIE Fighter. Now, the set number on this set is 75095. The piece count on this set is 1,685 pieces. And the recommended age rating for this set is 14 and up. So, let's break it down. So, here is the TIE Fighter pilot. Now, as you can see, he has lots of printing on his helmet. There's actually quite a bit of torso printing and leg printing, but also there's a bit of arm printing as well. Now, let's move on to the back of the minifigure. Well, there really isn't much to the back of the minifigure, and part of his head is exposed thanks to the design of the helmet. But the only thing it really shows at the back is the back torso, which there isn't too much of, and a bit of the back of the arm printing, which is interesting to see. Now, let's move on to the facial expression of this minifigure. The minifigure doesn't exactly have an angry clone face. He does have a different looking face, but it's very similar to a clone face, and the facial expression in itself isn't really interesting. Now, let's move on to the stand. Now, here is the stand in its entirety. Now, the stand doesn't really move at all, but what is interesting to note about the stand is the part where it attaches to the TIE Fighter is actually a little bit on an angle. So the TIE Fighter, when it's displayed, is actually on a slight angle when you display it on the stand. Now, the stand in itself isn't too interesting. It's one of the more boring LEGO stands I've shown in these reviews, but it does show you where to place a TIE Fighter through the grey and red bit up top. Now, moving closer to the plaque, you can see information about the TIE Fighter plaque. You can move it up and down. But also, this is where you put your minifigure, and it's separated by a tile. Now, let's move on to the set itself. And here is the TIE Fighter itself. Now, the first comment I have to say is this looks absolutely brilliant. It's such a clean looking LEGO set. I'm just going to quickly show you a 360 of what this set looks like. Now, one thing to note is, as you may be able to hear, after leaving it here for a while, and I've had it displayed like this for a while, the stand and the TIE Fighter, if you try and move it around, it will have a bit of the creaking noise. But as you can see, this is a very minimalistic UCS display set, but it's very realistic to the TIE Fighter. If you want to know what a TIE Fighter should look like, it pretty much should look like this UCS set right here. And now, let's move on to the functionality that this set actually has. Now, let's look at the functionality of a TIE Fighter. Now, the down arrows here actually, well, let me just zoom in a bit closer for you. The down arrows represent where you're supposed to attach the bridge section to the wing of a TIE Fighter. Also, moving down a little bit with the red dots here that you see, they represent the blasters, or what's coming out of the blaster. Also, I actually did this while I was filming. Don't open this, the front one, because it isn't supposed to open. It just rips apart. I learned that the hard way, but that's something else to remember. Now, you're actually supposed to open this back section here, and if you look inside, you can see a bit of the cockpit, but it's really quite difficult to see all the sort of detail in the cockpit, just due to the way the set's designed. It's very tight. Now, but you can see a seat, and there's a printed piece on the right. There's also one on the left too. And that actually pretty much wraps it up for the front. Like I said, it's a very non-really detailed set, but I'm going to quickly just spin this around now. And what you can see here is more areas for, well, this is where represents the thrusters. And underneath here, it's kind of like a bit of the window area. And I really like the way that this has been built, actually. It looks really interesting, the way that they've integrated the tiles and the 1x2 clear tile and the grill, to create the pattern, it does look really interesting. But apart from that, there's not too much more detail. And then obviously there's a bit of detail here. But apart from that, that's pretty much it. Now, let's move on to the instructions of the set before I move on to my final thoughts. Now, here are the instructions of the TIE Fighter. As you can see, if you flick through the front of it, there's quite a bit of information on what the set looks like and the design process of a TIE Fighter, as well as just the kind of history of it, both the Lego version of its history and then it becoming a set and then the actual history. And apart from that, there's nothing really too much in this instruction booklet, but it does show you all the main features of the set, which I showed in the review too, where there's honestly not too many features. And then here's also the Lego UCS Slave one, which I've reviewed as well. Now, let's move on to my final thoughts on this UCS set. So, what are my final thoughts on this set? Well, for when it was released, this set was an incredible value for money at, I believe, $200 US and 280 Australian dollars. The set looks flawless. Now, apart from some of the dumb mistakes I've made in like for example, ripping up by accident the front bit of the cockpit, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this set whatsoever. And it's a really enjoyable build. And I believe it's one of the more underrated UCS sets out there. Everyone likes talking about how good the Slave 1 is, but this set is probably better, in my opinion. It's so clean and just really well built. And for that, I have to give it 5 out of 5 stars. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And it's flawless. It's brilliant. And the only thing I'd say is, if you can get this in the the retired Lego space, then do it. But I do believe in the next few years, Lego could re-release a set like this, simply because they've already re-released, I believe, 2 UCS X-Wings, 2 UCS Snowspeeders, 2 UCS Y-Wings, and a TIE Fighter is such a big part of Star Wars, so it's only a matter of time before they re-release another one. And I absolutely recommend it if you can get your hands on it. But good alternatives to this, if you're watching in around the 2023 time, are the A-Wing Starfighter, if that's still available for you. Also, the UCS R2-D2 is a really enjoyable UCS set, and the Republic gunship as well. And I haven't built it and I'm not going to buy it, but the UCS Razor Crest is also a good one as well if you want something a bit larger. And those are my thoughts. Now, smash the like button if you enjoyed the video, and press the subscribe button if you want to see more content just like this. Did you enjoy the review? I hope you guys have a wonderful day and keep building.